He's 25 years, but it should be a little bit. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Rishus, Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Russell, and all of you here this evening, I'd like to warmly welcome you on behalf of the Fresh Start team to tonight's program, Raising a Loving Family. Detroit is unique because Rabbi Russell, 4 years ago, agreed to join as a co-founder to a program that is working with the entire Klal Yisrael from all over the world called Fresh Start. And out of all places in the world, the Eberster felt that Detroit would be the right place, and who knew that despite our inclement weather, people from 9 countries would come to spend a week to help themselves heal and to create a better future for them and their family. So for that, I want to give tremendous hakar satayv to Rabbi Russell for saying yes, even though he didn't exactly say yes. He said maybe, but I took it as a yes. And the rest is history. And this evening tonight is really a continuation of the work of Fresh Start, which is ultimately, while we heal ourselves, our goal is to really create a better environment and a better future for our children. And there's nothing more important today than the chinuch of our children. And we all know that 2025 is vastly different from the decades that we may have grown up in, even if it was just 20 years ago. And creating a home where all our children can thrive requires tools and principles that either many of us were not raised with or that we're not aware of. So tonight we have the zchus to hear from the Rosh Hashiva and from Rabbi Russell, the esteemed author of the best-selling book, Raising a Loving Family. Whoever yet hasn't gotten their copy, I strongly encourage you to go on Amazon and buy one. And he will share with us the foundational principles that enable our children to flourish both as human beings as well as B'nai Torah, and offer us valuable guidance for those of us navigating challenges with our children. It's an honor to have the Rosh Hashiva join us this evening as well for Divrei Bracha. I will keep my remarks short and ask the Rosh Hashiva to please come up and say a few words.
Truth be told, Yochanan said that he asked Rabbi Russell to come to speak, and he didn't get a yes. He got a maybe. But the truth is that he asked me also to come to speak. He didn't get a yes, he didn't get a maybe, because when Yochanan talks to me, he doesn't expect an answer. It's such a thing called a certain amount of aftos that a person has with somebody else. It's a bind with one person with the other person. Whatever the person says, you do. That's what it is. Really, Kabbalah Satya was also there. They sat with Tatas on Kovalem Har Kegigas. The bunch of us Kovalem Har Kegigas. He put over us Har Sinai and made it like a gigas, a barrel. And he says, if you're Mikabel the Torah, good. If you're not Mikabel the Torah, don't take for Aslam. Kabbalah's Torah was supposed to bring a certain malchus. The bunch of us Kabbalah's malchus. You're supposed to be Mikabel the malchus of the Rebbeinu Shalom. He wasn't out to be a moishel over us, to rule over us. The Gaon says, a goyel, a moishel, he rules over against you without asking questions. Plenty of dictators in the world. The Baruch want malchus. He wanted Kabbalah's malchus, and malchus means that Hakafalim Har Kegigas. How could be Hakafalim Har Kegigas? Now I think the pshat is today's daf. People are learning daf. Today's daf or tomorrow's daf. I think it is. Tomorrow's daf. The Gemara says that if a person turns over a barrel, empty barrel, and turns it over and puts it over your head, and the person sits in a barrel, a sealed barrel over your head, and it doesn't let any air, and eventually the person won't be able to live anymore. He'll use up all the air, be hevel in the barrel, and he'll die. More the shaila, if a person puts a barrel over you, is he a Ritzeach? Is that how he killed him? Or he died, but he didn't kill him. It's Kavalim Harki Gigas is a way to, you could force somebody into a matzav, into a way, and he can end up dying. If the Baruch put a Kavalim Harki Gigas, he forced us into it. But the only way to live is if a person is mekabel. He's Kavalim Harki Gigas imat mekablim. If you're mekabel, the thing means you accepted beratzoin. He wanted us to accept it beratzoin. He wants us to have him because he knows what he wants. He knows what we need. So he knows what he needs. It's Kavalim Harki Gigas. But he needs from us that we mekabel beratzoin. We should be mekabel it. And once we're Mekabel it, so then that's the Kabbalah's Malchus, Mekabel is Malchus. That's the way that that's the way Kabbalah's HaTorah worked. We're talking days before Purim. Somebody came over to me a couple of days ago, and the Shabbos, he came over to me and he says, Sid Shid came over to me and he says, this is probably the worst time of the year for you, Litvish people. It's probably the worst time of the year. It says that you're supposed to be ma'abim b'simcha. You're more into Vali Musar, more into a little bit of maybe Mishnah Chazab, Mamayat b'simcha, but he had a problem. And I told him, I didn't answer him. I mean, it was a nice joke he said. And I thought about it, it's not very hard. To be able to mekabel b'simcha means you're mekabel the achdus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're mekabel to become echad, to become one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avada, that's a big avodah. I know, in Abayas, the men have a don't firm, they think it's a delightful time. I think the ladies dread it terribly. I mean, it's you got to clean up the house, and the house is a mess afterwards. It's like a terrible time. Oh, but there's a certain simcha that you get out of a feeling that you could have a shaykhis, you could have a contact with somebody else. And you realize you get out of your little skin, you get out of yourself, you could have a shaykh with somebody else. And that's it's not a big avoid. It is an avoid. It's avoided 2 months avoided now. It's avoided to be geula. The ador and nissen is geula. There's 2 geulas. That geula is ani Hashem. Geula is only Hashem is the only one who can make geula. Ani v'lei malav, ani v'lei sorov. There's only achdus is the only geula. A person gets to himself. He realizes himself. He realized that he's a shtik HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a chelok al mal that he is. So then he can come to geula. It's not what he wants. It's not what his desires are so much. My father used to tell us when he used to ask us to learn sometimes, and we would say, "No, I play ball." He said, "You'll see. You'll never have charata from learning. You want to play ball half hour. You want to sit down and learn a half hour. And you want to play ball. No one ever sat down and did a mid-learned, and after a half hour he has charata. He felt bad about his learning. Why not? They could have had an opportunity. I could have watched the ball game. I could have done something. And everybody who did watch the ball game feels depressed after he watched the ball game. And everybody who didn't watch the ball game and learned, no one ever feels depressed. Even if he wasn't mechadish shtikul Torah, even if he didn't say anything. Because when a person gets down to his essence, he comes to what he is, then he has simcha. Then he has achdus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he comes down to his essence. That's when he has his menuchas hanefesh. A mishpacha, you're talking about to a loving family. What does a loving family mean? A loving family means, what does love mean, b'chlal? Love means, I love ice cream. What does love mean, b'chlal? We know the gematria of the word ava is echod. Ava means echod. Once it's period, once it's 2 things, you can glue them together. You get along with people. People can get along with other people, but that's not ava. Ava when it's echod. The Gemara says it's kavalim har gigas. The bunch of kavalim har gigas didn't force on anything on us. The father understands the Abba, the Chazal say that the Abba that a father has for his son is much stronger than the Abba that a son has for his father. What is the pshat in them? A father is much more Abba. So I'll tell you a little story that happened. I've heard it from me a couple times. We once sat at Pesach by the Seder, not the Seder, by a Shabbos called a Meir, I think. We sat, just sitting around the table, we said, Shmuel, the father was Shmuel, just sitting around. And said, I lost art today, B'chlal, sitting around with your family. And all my life, we used to eat supper together, we ate dinner together. It was a normal thing. I remember how young, my mother always would set the table, and you set the table, there was cut grapefruit in the middle of the week. In the middle of the week, we had cut grapefruit. She'd cut grapefruit to everybody, and there was a napkin on the table. Can you believe it? She wouldn't throw the silverware in the middle of the table. She actually set the table. And my father was a busy man, but he always came home. He always came here, we ate supper together. What did we talk? We schmoozed. What did we schmooze about? Schmooze. And he used to come in, and one day we were schmoozing, he says, we want to know why. Why do mothers, he asked them, we were all talking, why do mothers dress up their kids? Before Pesach, everybody knows, you have to go to all the stores, you got matching everything. Everybody has to match, and you can't match somebody else. If somebody else has the same thing you have to go back to the store and buy something else. Everybody has to have something else. So he asked, why do parents, we were talking about mothers, fathers have different problems. He says, so we said, because they want to show off, of course. They want to show how good they are, how their taste is. And we all, for a long time, we were talking about maybe a half hour around the table. We were talking about how mothers do it, and they just mean for themselves. And after, he was quiet for a long time. And after a half hour, he sat quiet and said a word. He wouldn't talk to us always, but this time he sat quiet for a half hour. And afterwards he turned to us, he said, I don't understand you people. I said, you're a bunch of naraj. There's not one thing that a father does for a child, nothing. There's nothing that a father does for his child that he thinks about himself. There's no such thing. There's no metzius in the world that a father does for his child only for his son. A mother only does for a child only what she might be verdreht. And that's, of course, she thinks that that's good for her child. She only, her attachment to child, not rotzon. There's no rotzon. Rotzon is a way to have a shaykhus to somebody else. I want you, so I'll give up something to have you. I'll be nice to you. Maybe I'll even take out the garbage and wash the dishes a little bit. I want you. That's rotzon. Rotzon, you can change a rotzon. I have rotzon for something else. You can change. You like ice cream, like chocolate, tomorrow you like vanilla. You can be different. A father to a child is atzmius. A father to a child is kuli atzmi. The Rebbeinu Shalom's Abba to Klal Yisrael is echad. As Klal Yisrael is metzias of echad. No, a son as sons, we can only do ritzoynoi shalaviv. We can only do the rotzon. Our connection with our parents is only rotzon. No, the kunz is that a father has to understand his child. A kunz that a mother has to understand his child, not what his child wants, but what his child needs. What his child understands that one day he'll understand that that's what he really, really wants. He'll get to a point that that's what he really wants. Until then, who knows? The Kavalim Har Kigigas they were Kavalim Har Kigigas, and then they said, so I can't my rabbi so they could say they don't want. And they talk up when they went out to Golos, they came to Yecheskel HaNavi, and they told Yecheskel HaNavi, look, he puts us to Golos. We only want to be with Rebbeinu Shalom in Eretz Yisrael. He sent it out to Golos, so what do we have to be here for? And he tells them, no, how you see it? The Rebbeinu Shalom wants Klal Yisrael. There is no, can't be separated. Klal Yisrael has to be together. A mishpacha, the Rebbeinu Shalom made mishpachas in Klal Yisrael. Why did he make mishpachas? He can't afford it. Why can't everybody have his own little house, his own little place? There's so many stars. He could have put everybody on a different star, but it's more convenient, it's a little cheaper for the Rebbeinu Shalom. That now he said he have 10 children in one house, a little cheaper for his. And the Rebbeinu Shalom skate them on. He could afford everybody. He said, why did he make this mishpacha business? He made it because Ribono Shel Olam is Echad. And Klal Yisrael does not become a Davar Sheni. We don't become a Davar Sheni. A son does not become separate from his father. A son does not become a Davar Sheni. He doesn't realize he has his Ratzon. So the father has to study it and know it. And today, in this door, I told Bakst today, I told him, our parents, my parents, they didn't have the luxury. They didn't have the luxury to be able to study that. They didn't have the luxury. They came to Europe. They came to America. They came to America, and even probably a lot of people's parents also. Even the last door, they didn't have this luxury to be able. Today it's okay. Machen Geld, you make up hanosa. Anybody who's worried about like what he's eating breakfast tomorrow? You tell him anybody knows anything? These people, our door, when we grew up with people who didn't have the luxury time to think. They did what they had to do, and look what they reminded. They reminded of Klal Yisrael. They reminded of Mishpacha. They reminded they sense. The kids sense what their fathers wanted. The kids sense what their father wants because they had an inner understanding of their children. In today's door, we're all busy. We're busy with Torah and B'Yitzri. And I think the Torah and B'Yitzri is not so much Torah and Yitzhahara. The Gemara says, we're going to come to ask how come you didn't learn Torah? You can say, I was Torah B'Yitzri, a silly answer like that. You give an answer, Torah B'Yitzri. I think the problem is going to be Torah B'Yitzri. We're going to be Torah with Yitzhah Toiv. We're going to say, I didn't have time. I had to go to davening. I had to learn. I had to steig. I had to be my own. And what's with your kids? And what's with your family? And what's with your actors? I was busy. I was a busy person. Torah B'Yitzri. He was Torah B'Yitzri. They were also Torah B'Yitzri. But they understood what you had to do. They understand you make a child. You made a Davar Sheni. You made something. You can't make pure for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't separate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to understand that you're a Chelek L'Kam Mimal. Your child is a Chelek L'Kam Mimal. And it's a Choiv Kodesh. That person has to know. And it's to study it and learn it. How we learn it, that's already, I'll leave it up to Rabbi Russell. How you learn that. How you know that. But yet every parent, the Baruch was Bezaka us with children. He was Bezaka with children that obviously he entrusted in us. We say, Rabbi Amunasecha, one of the pshatim of Rabbi Amunasecha is that the Rebbeinu Shalom trusts in us. He trusts in us. Rabbi Amunasecha, I would tell you, my Mishama went up last night and he doesn't want to come down a second time. Why would he come down? He messed up 100 times or 1,000 times he messed up. And he said, no, God, maybe this time you'll do it. Who had that emunah? The Rebbeinu Shalom has that emunah. He sent us down and you have emunah, so you can't drop the ball. You got to be able to understand, you have a child, and they're hard children today. They're very hard children. They don't understand. We think they don't understand. They understand God's good. They understand much better than we understand. They understand when you're just talking and what you're really thinking. They know exactly what they know exactly. They're much smarter than all of us. And that's our way to get down to understand ourselves. What do we want? We want to be happy together, or we want Simcha together? You want to have a Purim that you come to Harav Kiblu Me'ach Hashverish, we come to Kabul Be'avas Hanes. His father used to tell us, a guy has an accident, he benches Goyim, or he's sick, and he benches Goyim. Okay, very nice. But why did I have to get sick? Why did I have to have the accident? I'll tell you, Rabbi Shimon, thank you very much. But why? So will answer. Oh, probably I did a chet. I talked Lashon Hara once upon a time, and that's the reason why it happened. He would answer. My father says, no. A son doesn't even enter. It's out in the shining cup. It doesn't enter your head. The achdus a person has with the father, the achdus that a son has with the father, it doesn't need a teretz. There's no kasha. You have achdus. We know one was good shabrichu. And how do we dare the mishpachis? A loving mishpacha means you're echad, not two things becoming one. That's you take your lulav maybe. I don't know, that's not echad. Echad means one. A husband with a wife is echad, is one thing, not two things getting together. They become a hayol basa echad, but not shnayim tavukim to each other. They become one. They become one mitzias, and the child is one. If you understand, that's the achdus, the bracha takeh. From this asifa, that comes out of Oz Nidbu Yirei Hashem. The Marshal is busy. He's busy. He's also very busy. And Chazal say Oz Nidbu Yirei Hashem. He comes, and he listens, and he writes it down in his sefer. He's sitting here. The Marshal had nothing better to do today. Yirei Hashem took out the time of their day to come here to know what is their job. What is it? They want to do Shlichus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Rebbeinu Shalom has much more important things you would think to do. He has to discuss the problem in Ukraine. He has a big problem. They're screaming in the White Hall in the office. What are we going to do with the president? They're having a machlokes there. The Ukraine's falling apart. And what about the hostages? He has a big problem. He has to come in right now, and he has to write down. He has to, what in the world are these people talking about? Oz nidbu yir Hashem isha re'enu. Vayakshev Hashem v'yishma. And he's going to write it down. And for that we hope, b'tuach, the Moshe will give us a siyata d'shmaya to understand our job, our shlichus b'hai alma, to be mamshech the achdus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It shouldn't be a period.
Rabbi, I know you're right. You never actually said yes. That's a good point. Just dawned on me now. Okay, it's our privilege to call upon Rabbi Russell. Just so everybody knows, Rabbi Russell's going to speak for a bit. Then we are going to open it up for Q&A. So we're hoping we have some brave souls in the crowd and have some questions that you want to ask. And with that being said, Rabbi Russell, welcome to Detroit.
Oh, wow. They told me there'd be like 10, 15 people. Can you hear in the back? You can hear in the back? Oh, good. I just want to put the record straight. So when Rabbi Yochanan asked me... Oh, okay. So Rabbi Yochanan asked me to join him and create Fresh Start. I just want to be clear, I said no. I did not say maybe. But then I discovered he's a Lubavitcher. And the problem with the Lubavitchers, you don't say no. They mow you over. They pursue you. It's a given, you're going to do it. That's Lubavitchers, and that's the Yochanan. And in hindsight, I have to tell you that it's astonishing what they've achieved. Mamish astonishing. I can tell you the professional community that never existed before. I'm not doing commercial for this. I just want to give shvach to him and Tova for what you did. It's just astonishing that you produced this program on such a high caliber. It's something that's it's siyata d'shmaya she'en k'mon. Mamish siyata d'shmaya she'en k'mon. And ashreichem. I'm glad I joined you, so it was so good. So I got over it. So okay, so we've got a very, very important subject tonight. And really that's the reason I came, because any opportunity, anywhere in the world, that I can speak on parenting, on trying to help us, our kehillas, work through the sugya of parenting. You know, years ago when I was a child, by the way, we had grapefruit cut with coconut, and we had a bread plate. I don't know if you had a bread plate. We had a bread plate. My mother served supper, and it was a 3-course deal, and we also sat around, and it was a different world. We sat, I'll tell you this, when I was a child, don't try this at home, because your kids will become psychotic, so don't do this. But when I was a child, you came to a meal, and you sat on a chair, and you didn't get off that chair without reshus. You had to chant, "Please, Mummy darling, may I leave the table?" And if Mummy darling did not give reshus, and you moved, then Daddy not so darling gave you up. And that was it. And we sat glued. Today, they tell me, it's by a Shabbos meal, you send out the troops, where are the kids? Like one is next door, one went to sleep, one is upside down on the couch reading a book, and you got to gather them all back in. There was no such thing. There was a world, a completely different world. It was a world in which, I can tell you, Meir, that we went to school. There was no public school buses in England. And we went by on a regular bus to go to school. And if you were seen not sitting in a chair on a bus in a seat, and you didn't give, because we wore school uniform, and you didn't give your seat to someone older, you got a detention. If you were spied doing such an avla. It was a world gone. That was a different world. We have a world today that is so fundamentally different and challenging in so many different dimensions. I watch my children bringing up our grandchildren, and it's just a different, fundamentally different world. The challenges they have today, later, they didn't exist. Where was the internet? It didn't exist. The world today is almost like the Haskalah, the enlightenment of old, where children who are not supreme, who are not satisfied, look outside, look elsewhere, and have access somehow, by hook or by crook, to find other influences on their lives outside the framework of the Torah and our world. This was a world that we didn't bring up our kids in. And it's a very, very challenging world for you. And that's why parenting today has, take a look how many people are. It's written up endless. It's like, really, you speak on parenting, it's always a packed crowd. Because young parents are desperate for understanding and advice and guidance to understand how to do it better. It's really a desperate month of today. So what I want to outline is the basic fundamental principles for a Torah home, for how to look at parenting and understand what we're doing. So that, listen, you can't guarantee outcome. I want to be very clear. I've seen the very best, most wonderful people do everything I've said, and then other things happen. Ultimately, the Rabbi Shimon was in charge. Meir was always insistent on understanding that as much as we professionally will guide and advise and give chizuk and hadracha, but the Rabbi Shimon was in charge, not us. Which means you could do everything right, and somehow it doesn't work out. Because the Rabbi Shimon has his plans. And his plans will always supersede ours. As a matter of fact, the Gemara Nida, Tesayin on the base, the Gemara says that a malach hamamuna al ha'irayim, there's a malach in charge of pregnancy, Laila Shmai. Noitel tipu mamida lifnei amakim, takes a drop of embryonic fluid, places it before the Rabbi Shimon, and says, Tipa zumati yada, what's going to be with this tipa? You do dika Gemara. Chacham or tipish, smart or stupid, giver or cholosh, strong or weak, asher or ani, wealthy or poor. Vilu Zadik Barasha Loitama. It doesn't say Zadik Barasha. Why? Ki Akol B'dei Shemayim Chutz Meir. Everyone knows this Gemara. But you don't know Rashi. And Rashi is amazing. What Rashi says here, for me personally in my life, is I feel like I'm a strap hanger on the New York subway, holding on to this Rashi as it's guided me through my life with my children and grandchildren. And understand, putting life in perspective. This was the Mashgiach's perspective. The Rabbi Shimon has his plans. We have to do ours. We have to do Ishtadlus. We should try our hardest. We should try and work out what is good parenting. But Zolstavisa, we have to know David is in charge. So we should never be despondent. We should never be upset. You understand? We have to be confident to do and try the best we can and recognize that Rabbi Shimon is in charge. Because Rashi says, he brings, it's really a medrash, the Zohar Kodesh says it too. Hakol b'dei shamayim, everything is b'dei shamayim, chutz mi'ir shamayim. What is hakol b'dei shamayim? What? What is everything? Listen to the Lashon Rashi. Zog Rashi, Kol midoisov v'koreisov shel adam boim loi b'gzeres melech. The midas, the character, the personality of your child when they come back is all in gzeres melech. The koreisov, the events that happen, the neighbor's kid and this person hurt them and that person abused them. And that's nothing to do with us. I didn't do it. I couldn't even stop it. Kol midoisov v'koreisov shel adam boim loi b'gzeres melech. That's a gzeres melech min hashamayim. That a person's going to go through what they're going to go through, and they're going to have the midas that the Eibishter gave them when they came back to fix in this world, to fulfill their tafkid. And the koreisov, the events that happen to them, many events that we can't predict and protect, and they happen to them. And the very best parenting, it can't prevent that, can't stop that. So we have to always know the Eibishter is in charge. Mashgiach was very, very makbid. He told me every time when you speak on parenting, put things in perspective first, that the Eibishter is in charge, not us. I actually heard, I'll just finish, by the way, I didn't start yet, this is my introduction. I'm going to get there, don't worry. But just noch a chelik of the introduction, I saw in a sefer, and what do you think the thing in the sefer? Because I know parents, we beat ourselves up. It doesn't quite go right, we're mortified. We criticize ourselves. I don't know if it's you, maybe it's just me, but if you feel you do it too. Most Yiddish, that's why I say the women, they say in their ladies, Jewish in a siddur, it includes tefillas haderech by Shacharis. You know that, right? Because the women always go on the guilt trip, right? So you got to put it by Shacharis. So we knock ourselves. What can I do? The men, it's not by us. We just but the women take care of that. But seriously, I saw the Rachmas Rivka Rebbe say Chesed Kodesh Levracha and the Seifers and Kleinus, the things he said. I just saw this last week. Siach Yitzhak, the Sefer Siach Yitzhak. I was looking through it. There's this unbelievable thing. And he says, why do we say in Shemona Esrei 3 times a day, U'l'mekalalai nafshi sidai? We say in the end, U'l'mekalalai, the people who curse me, nafshi sidai, my nefesh should be calm. So many people cursing us 3 times a day, we have to say this? It doesn't fit. There's so many cursing people out there. 3 times a day, I got a chaza, this yisod. So the Rebbe said, amazing. He said it's referring the Mekalalai to us cursing ourselves. That we knock ourselves, my Hashem isn't good enough, and my this is not, my mitzvah is not good enough, my parenting isn't good enough, and everything goes wrong is my fault. That when I'm mekalalin myself, nafshi sidai, calm down. Joe, we have to do ours. We have to do the best. And we have to recognize that ultimately, alles is in the hands of the Eibishter. And therefore you can do, I've watched in my career, 35 years, I've watched it when people do everything right. I've watched it. Amazing people did everything right, and everything fell apart. Because of circumstances and situations that had nothing to do with them. And I see people, fascinatingly, I've watched people also who did everything wrong. And they had these valedictorians. Like, go figure. I've seen it. I've seen it. Like I would describe, you wouldn't even believe it's possible. Like, mamish are messed up with sugar. And here they had all these valedictorians. I even asked the kids. They said, well, what's got to do with me? It's like, go figure. And then you got beautiful people eating their hearts out, and all their kids are flying every direction, Okay, so having said that, let's acknowledge that the Eibishter is in charge. Darf mispal sein, and we have to daven to the Eibishter. And we also have to recognize there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture. There's a cosmic picture. There's a picture that has to do with Shemayim. As the Riyah Kodesh says, that everyone has their own unique journey in this world, that's unique and different, because everyone has a unique and different tikkun to fulfill in this world, and the uniqueness of their journey is connected directly to the things that happen to them. So let's let it go and not knock ourselves, while at the same time recognize this drasha is about hishtadlus. That's it. This drasha doesn't guarantee outcome. You can't go home after the things I'm going to say, and suddenly everything's going to fall in place. And if it doesn't, you call up Alta or Russell and you say, hey, I want my money back. It didn't work. All we can do is do the best we can. And ashreichem, 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 to come out on a cold night and yet again be interested. I'm sure I'm not the only person ever to speak on parenting here in Detroit, but to come out and do the best we can. That's what's asked of us. That's what the Eibishter wants from us, nothing more. Come, try, do our shtadlus, let's hope for the best, and so the Eibishter will all together help our children live a better life. That's a shame. So let's start at the beginning. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, and I must say I'm fascinated. This mitzvah, you do a period of the review, we have to have children. And the chinuch in Shoshei mitzvah points out that this is connected with another mitzvah, the Shevis Yitzhara. Pasuk in Yeshayahu says, "V'so bara the Shevis Yitzhara." The Eibishter did not create the world to be empty, but he wanted the world to be filled with people. And that's Mishashei mitzvah of the mitzvah period. There's really two mitzvahs. One is the technical have children, but then there's this mitzvah of Shevis Yitzhara. What is this mitzvah? And it fascinated me over the years. Did a lot of work and research to understand this. Rayas and Nishva from Menachos and Taisvas and Tziruf with Avderach Kameicha Nishva. It's not a pilpush here, so we'll leave that out for now. But I have Rayas. I took these Rayas to many Gedolim and talked it over with them until I got it clear. It's a mitzvah l'shevis Yisrael. What is this mitzvah l'shevis Yisrael? The Eibishter will wants that we fill the world with people who are healthy in body and mind, happy, capable of self-love, and capable of loving others. This is what the Eibishter wants. This is we have to work as parents to bring children into this world with the express intent of doing our best that they should be healthy in body and mind, happy, capable of self-love, and capable of loving others. This is the mitzvah l'shevis Yitzhara, to bring these citizens in the world. The Eibishter wanted that. At the same time, as we have that mitzvah, we all have the mitzvah chinuch habanim, the Torah mitzvahs. We have to teach our children Torah mitzvahs. It's a fascinating mitzvah. Very few people know this, and I can't grasp why. I don't know why we don't talk about it. That the mitzvah chinuch to mitzvahs, the mitzvah of being mechanech our children to mitzvahs, means that it's our job to convey the parameters of mitzvahs to our children, and do it in a way that's inspirational, hopefully, that they will want to internalize it. There is actually no chiyuv on a father or mother to force your children to do mitzvahs. There's a chiyuv bezdin, there's a chiyuv sanhedrin, that's their din. It is not my chiyuv to force my children to do mitzvahs. It is my chiyuv to teach my children the exact parameters of what the mitzvahs are, and to do it in a way that hopefully they will internalize those mitzvahs. That's mitzvahs chinuch habanim, the Torah mitzvahs. That's the mitzvah. So that's nice. We've got these two mitzvahs side by side. We've got a shevis Yitzhara, to bring up a healthy human being, healthy person. And alongside that, we have the mitzvah of chinuch habanim, the Torah mitzvahs, to teach them Torah mitzvahs. And they go along, side by side, and this is how we bring up our children. That's all good, except when they collide. What do you do when they collide? What happens, and by the way, I asked this to many, many Gedolei Yisrael, exactly what they experienced in their homes with their parents. So I got this right. What happens when they collide? You got a 4-year-old, and he's starting wearing tzitzis. And, the Sesame Street ones, or the Mickey Mouse, I don't know which ones you give to the 4-year-old. Whichever, you put tzitzis on your kid, and it's all very nice. And he comes down one day, and he's not wearing tzitzis. You say, Sheikh, where's the tzitzis? And he says, they're stinky. They're stinky tzitzis. I'm not putting on stinky tzitzis. Now, what do most people do? That is, after you freak out, what do most people do? Actually, you're not meant to freak out. You're meant to say, okay, you'll put them on later. You put them on tomorrow. Why are they stinky? You're meant to engage your kid, to talk to them about it. The one thing you're not meant to do is get mad and angry with your kid about not putting on their stinky tzitzis and make the whole thing into a power struggle where your kid has power over you, over the stinky tzitzis. That's not what you're meant to do. When these two mitzvahs collide, here's the shaila. Which takes precedence? This is a shaila I put to Gedolei Yisrael. What do? A kid comes down, and you're washing negavas, and all the little shayfelas are washing negavas in the kitchen, and you say, did you wash negavas? And he says, I hate negavas. I hate it. I'm not washing it. What are you meant to do? There's so many mitzvahs with little children as we're bringing them up, and in the course of their maturity and development, they're simply not all going to do exactly what we want them to do. It's not going to happen. When the two mitzvahs collide, did anyone ever clear this shaila in front of you? Ever. Because they should have. What happens when these two mitzvahs collide? I asked this shaila to Gedolei Yisrael. And every single person, from Rebbes to Rabbanim to Poskim, told me the Shevis Yitzhara takes precedence, always, over the mitzvah, with little kids. Always. You don't ever compromise the Shevis Yitzhara, that is bringing up a healthy body and mind, happy, capable of self-love, loving others. You don't ever compromise that for the installation, or, getting a kid to do mitzvahs. Because if you do, you create resentment. You compromise healthiness. And guess what happens? If you bring up a healthy child, they will mature at the rate and pace that is necessary for them, not for you. And eventually, the chances are extremely high that they'll do it next week, the week after, a month later, a year later. They'll do it just fine if they're a healthy, happy, beloved human being. We don't ever compromise the development of a healthy child over getting them to do a mitzvah. Do you understand? Of course, we talk to them about it. We discuss it with them. We get fascinated. Why do you think it's stinky tzitzis? Like, what does that mean? But you do it with love and smile and warmth. It's a kid, for heaven's sakes. Find out what's bothering him. But you don't ever compromise the Shevis Yitzhara. This foundational principle, most of us, I believe, would change our lives had we known this. It's just a game changer. It changes your family, it changes the ruach. We're not giving up on mitzvahs, we're simply prioritizing being a healthy person, because guess what? Healthy people keep mitzvahs. Whereas if we compromise and make them unhealthy, then they associate your discomfort or frustration with them is associated with doing mitzvahs. So mitzvahs seem to evoke this bad feeling of I lose the relationship with my parent, which makes kids turn against mitzvahs. We always prioritize with little children healthiness. I said this as a spara when I first said this, and I took it to Gedolei. Later on, totally by chance, I came across Rav Hirsch. He doesn't say this. He says very similar, though, in a different direction. Turns out Rav Shimon Hirsch says basically the same thing, a little different knage. Peru uravu, zog Rav Hirsch. Peru, bring the children in the world. Zog Rav Hirsch, revu, bring them up to be healthy. That's what it means. He says, bring them up to be healthy. He learns in a different way. He doesn't mention the Shevis Yitzhara. You see that the concept was true and faithful in Klal Yisrael. And I'm asked many Gedolim, what happened if you came down as a little child and you didn't wash negavasa or something? How many times did your father tell you? If I would tell you that, I'd have to ask Rishus to tell you the names. But I'm talking about Gedolei Yisrael. Once, they said they reminded us once. And then just moved on. There was no Spanish Inquisition because your kid doesn't wear tzitzis. He's 4 years old. Leave him alone. What you say to him is, Shayfullah, maybe later, let's work it out, we'll talk about it, don't worry about it, go eat breakfast. And later on, you kind of work out what was that all about, and you find out what it was all about. Turns out that he dropped his one pair of scissors into the toilet, and they're now Taka stinky scissors, and he doesn't want to wear them. That's all it was. It wasn't some Marida against Tyra with some spara. He dropped them in the toilet. They're stinky scissors. He's not wearing them. You let it go. You sort it out. But you don't ever, ever, ever compromise with little children the development of a healthy person for the sake of installing a mitzvah. Don't ever do it. It's a huge, huge, huge mistake. Let me give you a second model. That's the first model. Let me give you a second model of how we bring up our kids healthy. So the second model works like this. Think of 0 to 2 as unconditional love. Unconditional love. Whatever you do, 0 to 2, it doesn't matter how they torment you, drive you crazy, wreck your home, inconvenience you, stop you going to work. It doesn't matter what they do. 0 to 2, and by the way, 2 is not Yekish. It's not like on their second birthday, boom, that's, now he stopped loving you. And by the way, the love continues forever. All I'm saying is 0 to 2, all you do is love them. And I want to tell you something fascinating. If we would understand the longest, and I'll share it with you in a moment what it is, of what it means, we would actually wish our children would challenge us more in the 0 to 2 because of what we're doing to their development by not reacting angrily, frustrated, disappointed, just loving them. Let me give you a couple of examples so you understand the musik. 0 to 2. The wife finally convinced the husband to paint the living room. It's about 7 years already and it looks pretty disgusting. It comes Ben as money. She convinced him it's expensive, they do it, they paint the living room. That night they're having supper in the kitchen and the kids start screaming, what's going on? They have a toddler, an 18-month-old. Somehow he found a red permanent marker and this 18-month-old thought, what a wonderful thing to draw on. It's a freshly painted wall. And so he's got his version of Picasso all over the wall. And of course they come in scream. Now what happens, unfortunately in most homes? Who left out the pen? Oh, first we've got to find the culprit. We've got to hang someone first, right? Who left out that pen? And then we've got to bring out the history book of how many times have I said, don't leave out the pens. And we'll bring 6 volumes and we'll start screaming and yelling and threatening. My mom will hang someone there. You did it. It's crazy. Kailis and Bracha, husband and wife yelling at each other. I told you not to buy those pens and don't let the kids touch them. My Zeta locked them up, those pens. We didn't allow them in the home. They're just screaming and yelling at each other. It's nuts. What is the 18-month-old? Poor little kid standing there. It's like, he has no clue what on earth are you talking about. He's a nice Picasso. It's like, it's a wall. It's a pen. He's 18 months old. That's what they do. Now, what's happening in the now let's get serious just for a moment. The neural development of that child's brain, 18 months old, he's developing neural pathways. That means like this. A child is born with very, very little connections to this world, correct? They know how to eat, poop, and cry. There's not much else they know how to do. That's it. They don't have much network going on in their brains. As we interact with them and they learn about life, they are incredibly, rapidly developing a network in their brain that informs them what life looks like, or what life should look like. They understand the world, and we teach them and we interact with them. So what happens when this kid draws on the wall and all they hear instantly is kailas and brakim and screaming and yelling and threatening and cries? What they learn is that this world is unsafe. This is not a safe place. Do you understand? That's what they just learned. I'll give you another example. The mother is the teacher. And she's getting ready for school. She's got to get out. You got the kids. You got to get them all going. Blah, 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 blah. The husband comes along, and he's a koilel, and he's got to run. You know, the classic kind of home. So she's sitting there with an 18-month-old in a high chair, feeding the 18-month-old Cheerios as quick as she can. Milk, Cheerios, right, to get him off to school. Because she's got to go. She's already dressed with her sheitel and her makeup, and she's ready to go and teach. She's ready to go. And she's feeding, and suddenly over the corner, over this side, two of the boys start fighting with each other. And she can hear them yelling. Now she's feeding. You got the picture here, everyone got your kitchen? Because you've all had this experience. You're feeding here, and you hear the noise there. Tragically, you do this to tell them to stop doing that. In that moment, the toddler empties the whole bowl of Cheerios on your head. The whole thing. All over your sheitel, it's all coming down, you're dripping with milk and Cheerios, and you got to leave 2 minutes later. So typically what happens, I told you not to fight, you see what happens when you fight? And you start screaming at them. Let's like, make them feel like 2 cents now. And then you tell your husband off, because you're the ones meant to be feeding, I'm meant to go to school, so then let's knock him and get him yelling, and then he's don't know what's going to do with me, I wasn't doing anything, I was like innocent here. And so he defends himself, and she's upset, and now she's got no time, and she's going to be late for teaching, and tells him to call the principal because of the class, and don't bother, and I don't know what to do, and everything, and the whole mess. We got the picture? What happens to the neural pathways of this 18-month-old? Never. Life is not safe. Life is a scary place. Life is threatening. Now let's take both stories and see what we're meant to do. Imagine what would happen if he does his Picasso on the wall, and the kids come running, Mommy, Mommy, look at the red pen, the camera. And they all come running in, and everyone bursts out laughing. And you take out the camera, and you all line up with him together, and you take pictures. By the way, those pictures are priceless for the Shabbat. They're the ones you're going to be breaking out at his Shabbat. And you are going to laugh so hard. And when the Cheerio thing is on your head, before you run and change, take a picture with him. I promise you've got material for Shabbat like you can't imagine. But what happens to the neural development when you take the pictures and you laugh? You teach your child that come what may, life is a safe and loving place. You're putting the foundation into your child that this world is a safe place. If we would understand this Mondas deeply, we would want more times they throw Cheerios on our heads. We would want more messes to happen. We would want so many disasters to unfold in our home. Because every time it happens and you laugh and you take pictures, you're programming your child, number one, to believe this world is safe. My parents love me unconditionally, because they kind of get the picture that, someone takes the pen away. You don't just give them pens so you can create pictures. You understand? But when it happens, so you take the pen away, Schaefer, we don't do this, and you talk to them, and you show them, and you clean it off, and whatever. You teach them, of course, that this is not okay. The age and the maturity level and the language, you find a way to, of course, express to them. And of course you speak to the other kids who left out the red permanent marker, and you show them gently and calmly and lovingly. Do you see what happens? There's certain achrayas. I'm here to teach you achrayas. I'm not angry with you. But Adarab, this is an opportunity to learn responsibility. And you see, I would say to the kids, do I look angry with you? I would say it to them. Do I look angry? And they say, no. I say, well, that's because I'm not. Because I'm not angry. I have a responsibility to teach you. And you're already 4, 5, 6, you should know to put the pens away because the baby can get hold of them. So you understand, you turn it into a teaching. You don't just ignore it like a dope and just let everyone else draw on all your walls and destroy your house and throw Cheerios everywhere. Of course not. We teach, but we teach it in a loving, caring way that's consistent with the Shevis Yitzhak, the primary mitzvah, or the Eibush will, that we produce healthy people. Do you understand that? It's so crucial. 0 to 2, honestly, if we would fully grasp the significance of what we do, it's like you're vaccinating your children in the 0 to 2 to be the neural pathways themselves inform the child. This is a loving, safe place here with your parents. And this is so beyond profound, because both in the very moment it's happening, you're developing these profound neural pathways which teach your child about safety and love and acceptance. And we teach the other kids about responsibility and achrayus. And we deal with it. And these things happen all the time. If we would only exploit it, you understand, 0 to 2 is the time. I was one thing recently, it's very interesting. You know, I wrote about this in the book, Raising a Loving Family. And I had a meeting in Ramat Eshkol, the Waffle Bar. Anyone know the Waffle Bar? You know the Waffle Bar? The Ramat Eshkol in Paran. I had a meeting there, a Motzi Shabbos meeting. So I went, someone came from America and they wanted to meet me there for coffee and talk. So I went in Motzi Shabbos. I get out, there's all these young couples on Paran, you know, Ramat Eshkol, you know the scene, it's like these young couples. I get out of my car and a bunch of young couples come running over to me. And one of them is holding this like baby. And the wife says to the husband, show him the pictures. Show him the pictures. It's amazing. And he shows me a picture of this very baby sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by all the boxes of cereal, Cheerios, cornflakes, you name it. And like there's a snowstorm of Cheerios and things and playing, and they took the pictures grinning with him together. Like they got it. Halavai, we would have brought our kids up this way, we would have understood this. And I'll tell you why it's important. It's not just important that we create the safety and security, but it's crucial for the next stage of parenting. Because the next stage of parenting is limit setting. You see, kids cannot grow up if we don't set limits on them. We have to set this whole liberal, idiotic agenda in America, this madness of liberalism, is the antithesis, not just of Torah, but of common sense. It makes no sense. Kids need discipline, rules, they need structure, they need limit setting, or they grow up with anarchy, they grow up crazy, they won't live, they won't survive, they won't be healthy. So the second stage of parenting, according to this model, is limit setting. We start with unconditional love, whatever they do, and then we go into limit setting. Now you understand the logic and the chachma. Because if you were zeicha to do the unconditional love 0 to 2, and again, I don't mean you stop loving, you keep loving, obviously, forever, for the rest of your life. However, you add at round 2 limit setting. We set limits on our kids. We set limits about bedtime. We set limits about, walking in the streets. You don't let them walk because they're talking, they're walking now. You set limits about touching the stove, about, using knives. I mean, there's, the list. There's an unlimited list where kids are naturally exploring the world. That's what they do. And they don't understand danger yet. And they don't understand what could destroy and damage. So we are constantly setting limits on our children in a healthy way, halavai, so they can learn how to be productive people. Little kids, they come and hit you. You've got to set limits on that. We have to teach them what's right and wrong. But listen to the longest now. The luyitzu you did, the unconditional love 0 to 2, with a smile and took the pictures, and it was all loving and warm and fuzzy and nice. Right? Let's say you did that. Then when you include limit setting, they experience internally the limit setting as an extension of my love for my child. somehow unconsciously, intuitively, they know that what you're doing must be a continuation of this love, because all they've ever experienced, 0 to 2, was a loving parent. That's all they had. So when you introduce it gently and you start doing limit setting, there's some unconscious experience the child has. This must be an extension of the love. Whereas many people, unfortunately, were busy in the 0 to 2 with trying to control them and stop them being upset with them. And then when you really need to set the limits, they rebel. Because what are you doing when you set limits? Interfering with them having fun, doing what they want, expressing themselves, being independent. So the experience is that you're interfering with my independence instead of you're trying to guide me in a healthy way. This is why, on a deeper level, the 0 to 2 is so crucial, because it sets up a person's life, the rest of their life. Literally. Everything is gepoit from them. Everything is built on that. Because once they know my parents unconditionally love me, then when you unconditionally protect them too, setting limits, they kind of intuit that's an extension of the love. This is so profound, I can't even tell you how important this is. You see it enough. I mean, I interview people all the time, clients all the years, and you can see it so clearly, those who had it and those didn't. What does the limit setting look like? So years ago, I used to say this musik, rules, structure, and discipline. All kids need rules, structure, and discipline, which is absolutely true. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a liberal fool. I have no idea what they're talking. I'm so sorry, but they're Prussian Democrats. I mean, what can I tell you? They just have no clue what they're talking about. I'm so sorry for the Democrats in the audience. I apologize. It's a joke. But liberalism, I'm saying it's permissive, idiotic liberalism. Kids, like even the Chazal in Eov, it says, Aya Pera Odom Yivalid. A person's born like a wild donkey. The Alta said, from an Aya Pera, a wild donkey, Odom, we Yivalid. We have to give birth to a healthy person. We take a child that's born like an Aya Pera. We have to produce an Odom from that. And we do that through limit setting. What does the limit setting look like? So I told you, I used to say rule, structure, and discipline. One day, one of my daughters, she said to me, Tati, you always say rule, structure, and discipline. She said, very respectfully, Kanenar, she says to me, would Tati really mean, it was like, it's amazing, she actually did it. Would Tati really mean structure, rules, and discipline, not rules, structure, and discipline? I said, what are you thinking? And she told me, and I said, bingo, you got it right. I had it wrong all the years. You got it exactly right. So let me explain. She was buying me for Shabbos, a very bright young lady, and we worked it out. It struck all children, the limit setting means structure, rules, and discipline, which all children need. Really all children need is structure. They need bedtime structure. They need getting up in the morning, putting your clothes onto the pillow, pick up your pajamas, put the clothes in the hamper. I mean, there's a million structural, brushing your teeth, eating, don't put your elbow, put your chin over your bowl. I mean, you name it, we've got structure for everything in their lives. And that's what we do, right? Is that what we're teaching them constantly? Don't leave the orange juice right at the edge of the table, that one, right? Like, move it at least 2 inches in, something. There's a million rules of structure that we're trying, a million structural issues that we're trying to structure their lives so they can be successful, so they can be happy and fulfilled as they grow up. And that's our job. They have no structure innate, so we have to, as parents, it's our Chayv Kodesh to teach them structure. That's the whole deal. That's limit setting, is teaching structure. What's the problem? The problem is like this. That you can't have a conversation, a philosophical conversation with a 2-year-old about structure, or a 3-year-old, or a 5-year-old, or a 10-year-old. You really can't. You're not going to explain to them. In fact, it's probably wrong, because then you end up, it's another liberal, idiotic move that makes no sense, forgive me, where you turn regular healthy parenting into this permissive rubbish whereby this is what their parenting sounds like. You only have to do what I'm telling you to do if I can come up with a good enough reason to convince you why you should do it. Parenting. It's exhausting. That type of parenting is utterly exhausting. You only have to do it if I can convince you why you should have to do it. Otherwise you potter. And when they say, yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? You actually think you have to answer them, which is nuts. So what do? We're meant to give our kids structure in a healthy and loving way. Explain to them, bedtime is 7, you brush your teeth before you go to bed, you brush your teeth in the morning, you pick up your clothes, you put them in the hamper, Mommy's not a servant here, there's a laundry basket. We teach them structure, age appropriate as they get older. We teach them stuff. So how do we teach it to them? The answer is we create a system of rules. Structure, you can't explain philosophically, so instead we create rules. 7 o'clock is bedtime, there's a good rule. 7 o'clock is bedtime. You have to pick up the stuff where it won't go in the laundry. It will not be laundered if it's on the floor. It's going to be picked up and put into a hamper. There's 2 classic, right? Would we all agree there's 2 classic pieces of structure we would like to teach our kids. So that's great. So you can't explain it to them, so instead you give them rules. The rule is, if your stuff is on the floor, and not in the hamper, it won't get laundered. If you 7 o'clock is bedtime. So that's great. The only problem with rules is we don't keep them. And they notice. Like 7 o'clock is bedtime, except if the Rosh Hashiva calls. Then it's 7:10. 7 o'clock is bedtime, always bedtime, but then the Shriga calls and you go listen. And she's talking to you about Shidduch and whatever, and suddenly it's 7:12. 7 o'clock is, in the minds of the kids, how often is actually 7 o'clock bedtime? So you run around ranting about 7 o'clock's bedtime, but you compromise it yourself. And then there's the classic mistake, where you say, if the clothes are on the floor, not in the hamper, they do not get laundered, unless Mommy walks into the room and has Rahmanas and Rahmanas, they won't have anything to wear, So she puts it in the hamper. We used to have a cleaning lady in the house. I asked her to touch the clothes on the floor. It is awesome. You can't do it. It was the hardest thing. She had over the kids, even this cleaning lady. It's like nuts. No, let it be on the floor. And they'll learn. So you have structure, which is trying to help the kids grow up healthy. We create rules, which we don't keep, which the kids have. So therefore they don't really know what is the rule. So how do they find out? They test us. And then we offer discipline, consequences, to reinforce the rules, to keep the structure. If they would keep the structure, there's no time in rules and discipline. The entire time of discipline is to confirm the rules mean something, which of course we don't keep them either. Don't tell the kids. Absolutely don't tell the kids, whatever you do, you're in trouble. And the whole point of the rules is for the sake of the structure. That's how it's meant to work. So if we had the unconditional love, let's go back there, the Shevet Yitzhara, we prioritized caring, and then we did 0 to 2, then when it comes to limit setting, which is structure, rules, and discipline, they understand even the rules and the discipline actually comes from a loving place, as long as you don't do it angry and all that stuff. That's Friedrich Gederis. That's not this though. Friedrich Gederis, and Shiva had the same as me. If we ever got hit in school, Dan will tell your father, you should come home and say you got hit. Oh, you got hit? Don't do it again. It was like, okay. It was a different world. It was a different world. You understand? The kids need from us to bring up, we've got to bring them up healthy for them to survive in this world that we're doing. And they've got to feel loved, and they've got to feel cared for. So we do that, the 0 to 2, which feeds into the ability to structure them, create the rules, offer the discipline and they accept that bundle has something to do with our caring for them, instead of them resisting it and getting insulted. That's the ideal. That's what it should look like. Thank you. Okay. So that's the second stage of parenting, according to this model. If that all goes well, that goes the limit setting pretty much around bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, we're pretty much in control. And by around bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, we start letting go somewhat. And we hope that they have it internally. We reserve the power of veto. But essentially, we understand our children are going to be more self-determined over bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah as they head into the teenage years. And then that should yield the third stage of parenting, which is guidance. We guide our kids. They turn to us for guidance because we have the love. We've done the structure in a way that was an extension of the love. So they actually trust us. And they turn to us for guidance about schools, clothing, choice, eventually yeshiva, shidduchim, careers, whatever, life, finances. They turn to us because we've created a loving home where they recognize, yes, we have parental authority with which we're going to help you grow up. We're going to help you mature. We're going to step in when you're little to protect you and to teach you and to structure you, but we're going to do it in a loving way, whereby as they get older, they turn to us for guidance. And that's how it works. That's the system. That's the second model. I want to do one more model, a third one. And then we can do questions if you want. That'd be good. Let me do a third model. The third model is very interesting. Some years ago, you may have heard there's an organization, Kesher Nafshi, helping parents with struggling kids. So I was one of the co-founders, so to speak. They invited me to speak at the very first conference. And I asked them, what should I speak on? And they said, whatever you think. I said, no, tell me what would you like? Give me a subject. They said, we don't know. Come teach us, whatever you think we should know. So I thought about it for a bit, and it was only 8 years ago. I'm guessing that today almost everyone is remarkable, knows the word attachment, and has a little bit of an idea what this word attachment means. Even in Detroit, am I correct? People have an idea? Yes, it's out of townish, but we know. Great. Okay. 8 years ago, no one knew. I'm telling you, it was astonishing. It was absolutely astonishing. Aside from a few brainiac therapists, psychologists, who learned attachment theory, the brainiac people. But it wasn't, Mishpacha magazine never mentioned attachment 8 years ago. This I can guarantee you. Hey, Mishpacha. Okay, I'm sorry. My wife gets upset with me when I do that. She's not here. I can get it out of my system. I always say it's Rashi. It's not Mishpacha. Okay, forget it. Leave that alone. Okay. 8 years ago, no one knew about attachment. I've always worked and understood attachment, and I see it's really the heart and soul of how we bring up healthy children and create the greatest likelihood that ultimately they will follow in our footsteps. That's what attachment does. It is so profound. It is, I'm not going to go through the history, of attachment. The British psychologist, maybe that's why I like British, but Bowlby, I'm not going to go through that, but how do we develop secure attachment? Secure attachment, if you create proper, healthy attachment with your children, then here's what you're going to create: resilience. This is where I said at the beginning, the Rashi, indeed, the komidosa, the karosa, what's karosa? Events that happen to a child that's really outside your control, outside your house. They go to school, they go to the street. Things happen to kids where you can't possibly shelter them. And things happen, and hurt them, and they can get abused, and things happen. That's corrosive. That's stuff that we have no control, really no control over. But it turns out that when you create healthy attachment, and I'm going to explain exactly how we do that, you create resilience in your children. And resilience simply means that if something happens to them and they get hurt, they bounce back. The power of resilience is everything in life. And resilience for a person means, because you can't necessarily control when something happens to you. Things happen. You have no control over it. Midos of Korosov. You had the struggle with the midas to begin with, and then Korosov, things happen. But when you create healthy attachment with your children, then they will have resilience, and two things happens. Number one, if, God forbid, something happens to them outside your control, outside the house, they come tell you. When you create healthy attachment, they come tell you. So they get help right away. And number two, it enables a child to bounce back. It gives them the strength and confidence to find the inner strength to bounce back. Attachment is probably the most profound thing that we have to work on, is developing healthy attachment with our children. That's with us. Do you understand? Attachment with us. That they look to their parents, they look at us as the source of health, of love, of care, of protection. They see us as that. So they can always return to us and come to us and seek guidance when they get hurt and share it with us, not be ashamed and embarrassed to tell us, so that we can get them the proper help and they can recover and bounce back. Resilience depends upon attachment. It can't be more profound than that. So how does attachment work? So, years ago I was reading, by the way, it's a fabulous book. If you haven't read it, I would read Parenting from the Inside Out by Dan Siegel. It's just an absolutely amazing book. If you like neuroscience, it's got the blue-gray pages for the brainiacs. I love neuroscience. I just love it. So I love those pages. It's like unbelievably profound, the longness of it. You can skip it and just get a good parenting book. Parenting from the Inside Out is really, really, really good stuff. You wade through the evolutionary rubbish. You should know one of the greatest scientists today, Stephen Porges, one of the greatest scientists who worked on polyvagal theory of trauma and understanding how trauma affects us. One of the great, 42 years he spent researching. He's actually a distant cousin to Chofetz Chaim. Can you imagine Stephen Porges? A cousin to the Chofetz Chaim. He remembers one of the children of Chofetz Chaim coming to his grandparents' house. He remembers. We did a Fresh Start interview with him. I interviewed him. The first time I met him was on, do you remember that? It was hilarious. I didn't realize, this is like a guy with credentials in the secular world that you just don't get bigger. You don't get bigger. He's the real deal scientist, the brainiac scientist of the world, and spent his whole life researching one nerve, the vagal nerve. That's what he did, and understanding how trauma affects us. I mean, they researched the roadmap of the entire field. Everyone runs from them. Everyone was shayef from him. He's like the kilo. So we did a podcast with him. And he built it all on evolution. Evolution. We started off as mammals, and then we grew, and the brain, the whole development, the ganze thing. But we started as mammals, and we evolved. So the first I interviewed him, I just met him the first time, and the first question I had for him was, Dr. Porges, does it make a drop of difference to the polyvagal theory if we evolved from mammals, or God created me like this? Does it make a drop of difference? This is like, in their world, this is like, you can't ask this question. to such a guy who's devoted his entire career and life to the evolution from mammals and brain, and they're all talking about the whole world. But he's such a humble guy. He was probably shocked when I asked him the question. I don't know, do you remember? It was crazy to ask him. Does it make a drop of difference? Like, we believe God created us already up here. Like, does it matter how I got there if this is how the system works? He looked at me and said, no, it's fine. It was crazy. It was so crazy. I got feedback from people, like secular people. How do you have the chutzpah to ask him? His whole career depending on it. But he said, no, that's fine. It'll work, should work. So when you read, if you read Parenting from Inside Out, it's not like if you're a kaifa, atheist, secular, mammal evolutionist, just ignore that stuff, okay? Just ignore it. Just get the theory, because the theory works. Just a great book. Just like move right through that stuff. Anyway, why did I get into this? I was saying something. Oh, the 4 S's. Yeah, I was going somewhere. So how do we develop attachment? How do we develop attachment? And attachment, you just don't get more profound than this. So Dan Siegel, in his book, it's like Harav, he's a brainiac too, Dan Siegel, a genius, psychologist, research. These people who research, they got labs and all the rest of it, it's unbelievable. Anyway, so Dan Siegel mentioned in passing, I saw something and I grabbed it out of his book. I give him credit for it, but I took it, and now I think the whole world, thank God, we're becoming aware of this, which he called, I took it from him, the 4 S's of attachment. If you don't know this, know it now. If you do know this, know it better. I can't say any louder. Even if you know it, you never know it. Trust me, I work on this and steig in this every day of my life. I'm constantly trying to refine and deepen the clarity with which these 4 S's work. So if you've read it in Raising a Loving Family, you'll see there's a section where I talk about it. But even if you know it, I'm just telling you my personal journey, I'm constantly deepening my hakara of how it works, and where it works, and the profundity of what it does. And it is, listen to this, it's amazing, the 4 S's, I'll tell you what they are in a moment, is not just preventive. Again, this is prevention, let's say, right? It's also reparative. That's the chiddush. It's reparative. That means you don't have to be bracha when you walk out tonight and feel like a total loser that you didn't do any of this, and like I may as well just give up now. It's reparative. You can start now. It's amazing. I do it with my clients. We work through the 4 S's. What are the 4 S's? Safe, secure, seen, and soothed. Safe, secure, seen, and soothed. Let's just take a quick look. Safety. So the first of the 1 S's is we have to provide safety for our children. They have to feel safe, primarily in their relationship with us. They don't get put down, criticized, blamed, judged, disregarded. That we relate to our children, like I said at the beginning, in a loving way. Of course we do the rules and the structure and everything else, but we do it loving. We do it loving. Especially in this generation. Mirsa's worked once, maybe. It did. Once upon a time, discipline, how do you do it? You withdrew love and you showed an angry face. Right? That's how it was done. Right? Spare the rod, spoil the child. In this generation, it's the opposite. You withdraw the anger, you show love, but you do the structure and the rules. Don't ignore it. You do it. You just do it with love, with kindness. In this generation, it's changed. Rabbi Lake, by the way, I asked Rabbi Lake this many years ago. Did something wrong here? Oh, thank you. You thought it was a pillow of myself. Takes good care of me. I once asked Rabbi Lake this many, many years ago, and he told me that the only mitzvah in the Torah that doesn't have exact parameters will be mitzvahs chinuch. Because it changes, the feed the child, and the door, the situation, the circumstance. It changes how you apply it, when you apply it. We have parameters, rough parameters, 6, we have in Shulchan Aruch, but it's flexible. Because it depends on the child, because they're all different. Safe, they have to feel safe with us, they have to feel safe in the home. In every area of safety, I'm not just talking about locking the windows and the doors, or not drinking too much, the kiddish and getting drunk, or drunk at your table, but in discipline. So we don't over-discipline. We don't lose it with our kids. We don't whack them to pieces because we got angry and lost it on them. We don't yell, in the house and frighten the kids. We don't intimidate them into behavior. That's how we grew up. That's gone. We got caned. I remember getting caned as a kid. It was a ritual. It was it's unbelievable ritual. It's like a crazy thing. You did something wrong, if it was like an avla gedola, you had to go and get the cane. It was behind the toilet. It was a miracle we could go to the bathroom, because that's where they kept the cane. Anyway, you had to come, maybe it was the man Rabbi Shimon they kept it in the bathroom. Anyway, the kids, you had to come and bow, you had to humble yourself and offer it to my father. He took the cane, and then you went to your bedroom, and you had like 20, 30 minutes to be misbeinen on the head, and put some magazines down the back of the pants. That's the way it was. And then he came in, totally calm. I found out years later, the 20 minutes wasn't just for the magazines, it was for him. He shouldn't come in angry. And he came in completely without any anger. Zero. I didn't know that. My mother told me years later. And he sat down on the bed. What did you do? You had to say what you did. Misfada the chet. And then did you promise Kuala la'asid? You won't do it again. You won't do it again. Okay, bend over. You got 3 whacks. And it was never talked about again. It was never talked about. You do that today, you go to jail. It's the world changed. What can I tell you? You go to jail. Kids have to feel safe. Yelling at kids, intimidating kids into compliance is a horrible mistake in this day and age. Horrible mistake. All it does is disconnect your kid to you and make them feel unsafe with you. Safety is crucial. That they feel safe with you and safe in their home and they don't get hurt. We have to protect our children to make sure they don't get hurt. And they have to feel they can rely on us, that we do the utmost we can to make sure they're safe. That's safety. Security. Security is securing the love parents have for each other, that they live in a loving home. They're secure in our caring for them. Clothes in season. You have extreme climate here. There's probably summer clothes and winter clothes. They have to know that there's going to be summer clothes and winter clothes. And if camp is nagea, you don't freak out. No, we can't afford it. Why do you bring up camp? What do you think we're rich? No. You say, you'll be taken care of. Something will happen this summer that's good for you. Mommy and I, Tati and I, we're working on it. We have to make them feel secure. They have to feel secure at the Shabbos table, the Yom Tov table. Meir was very, very much against Tzal. He was very much against the Parsha sheets at the table. He said, do them in the afternoon, do them other times, but don't ruin the Suda. You know how many kids are terrified and insecure of coming to the Shabbos table because they don't know and they're going to be humiliated with the Parsha sheet? By the way, that doesn't apply to the kid in primary. The kid in primary will darshan for 5 hours. Everything they know about Torah mitzvahs, and you have to stop them and shut them up because they mummies take over the whole meal. That kid, primary kid, that kid is like everything they ever know. And they go to me 3 times, the whole thing, and sing it. That one's fine for the show, because that's entertainment. That's like Torah entertainment, The primary kid, we say, nachas, kedai to have one, just for that red one if you don't have one. Because they entertain your whole Shabbos table. But the rest of them, you ever see the look on their face, half of them, when you do The Mashgiach is so against it. You need a secure Shabbos dish. Where everyone's going to be happy. And a Yom Tov table where they're going to be happy and enjoy. We don't do that. And if you have kids who are, getting old and struggling, move on. Don't have these long, drawn-out sudas. It hurts. They have to feel secure about the environment, that it's a loving home, you're going to be cared for, and we're going to tune into you. We're here for you. We're here to tune into what you need. We're here for you. They have to feel secure that they get, their clothing, proper clothing, and their food will be taken care of properly. That's security. It's like personal, it's internal. They feel settled and secure in this world and just comfortable within themselves. Seen. I think seen is probably one of the most crucial ones. Seen. We don't see, people bring up kids and it's shocking. It's always shocking to me. They have this thing in their house, this like chaymageddon called kids. We got the kids. Okay, let's get the kids in the bath. Let's get the kids in the car. Let's get the kids to bed. It's these things called kids. This group of Zachen in the house called kids. And we're always like moving around. Get the kids in the car. We're going to go with the kids. It's the kids. So where's the kids? It's like, what's their names? I don't know. Just the kids. Just get the kids. It's nuts. They're all, you wait till the youngest is 25 and the oldest is 45. Turns out they're utterly different to each other. It's crazy. They got different homes, different personalities. You could say very often. Could say. But no, they're the kids. We got to see them. We've got to be able to, how can you do if you didn't notice this uniqueness of this child? I used to try very hard. We bench our kids Friday night. I used to try very, very hard to notice something that week unique about each kid. So when I bench them, I could whisper in their ear, something unique I saw about you, something special I know, a little something. They were seen. I once had this unbelievable thing. A couple came in. This guy got so lost. It's a very strange story, because the guy's a real Talmud Chacham, and he got lost. Mamish lost in this, and he was always trying to make his kids in his image, his Messiah, my Messiah. It's like people who have my Shabbos. You ever heard this? Not a my Shabbos table. Your Shabbos. It's God's Shabbos table. What do you mean it's my Shabbos table? It's Hashem's Shabbos table. Not yours. You don't own it. It's Hashem's. No? Are we serving Hashem on this table? No, it's my Shabbos table, not my Shabbos table. So this guy, it was the same thing. It was my kids. I mean, my kids. They follow my image. So I fought with this guy for months, a long time. He came in with his wife. And what can I tell you? I couldn't get through to him. So one day I pulled out the final card. I figured I got him this time, because I don't like to clobber people with chazal, but occasionally it's good to do it. So I had less brayer. I tried to reason with him, couldn't get to him. So I said to him, maybe you'll help me out. What do you do with chanoichna pitaka? Like, it's his derech. He said, nay, you have pshat all wrong. He says to me, the vav of darka, he gave her from tata. He said, the vav goes on the father. Chanoichna pitaka shalav. It's like, look, that's that typish. Can you imagine? And then he got up and walked out. His whole wife sat there. She begged me not to give up on him. I harassed this guy. I made it a personal project. I called him in about 6 months. I called him. I said, I'm not charging you for this. This is too enjoyable. It took me 6 months to break him. He's unbelievable. We became good friends afterwards. It was fascinating. He came. He said, I don't know what happened to me. He mamish told me, I don't know what happened to me. It was so ingrained in him, the Messiah. Follow the Seder, so Saba. Who cares who your kids are as long as they follow the Alter Seder? It's crazy stuff. It's not true, Rabbi said, it's not true. Seen, everyone's different. I had a good friend, I just met his son. This guy, I didn't say it to the son, but I remember when he was Litvish and he became Hasidish, and the Olam lachten. The Olam lachten him. I did not. I thought it was very heilig. He was very Amestig Yid. And somehow Hasidus touched him more. He came from a real Yakish home. And he went Hasidish. I admired his courage. He felt more. I met his Hasidish son. You know what? This Shabbos, I met this Hasid. He came over to me. His father had mentioned to me, gave me regards. I thought it was a beautiful thing. We have to see our children. It is so crucial to notice who our children are. And as quickly as we can, begin to sense their uniqueness and then reflect it back to them. Reflect it back. By the way, that's the difference between a mechanech and a melamed. I'll say this to you. A mechanech and a melamed. What's the difference between a mechanech and a melamed? Sometimes a mechanech is a melamed. But they're actually two different jobs. A melamed is about melamed. He installs information. There's no idea, I don't know, comments, aleph, oh. So a melamed is melamed. He installs the idea in my brain. He's about installation. That's a melamed. A mechanech is about extraction. It's not about installation. It's about pulling out what's unique about your child and reflecting it back to them and helping them see themselves so they can steig in this world. That's really what chinuch is. You know where you learn this from? And I found it later in the Chovos HaTalmidim said the same word. I found it afterwards. He says mamish this word. He says, oh yeah, he says Chanukas Habayis. What's a Chanukas Habayis? A time to show off your new house. Shtach the neighbors. Make everyone jealous? Chas v'shalom. Chanukas Habayis is a dedication of the home for the potential that lies in this home to make a Shabbos and make a Yom Tov and do Achnosas and bring up a family. The Chanukas Habayis is about acknowledging the gewaltige potential was liegt in their home. Same thing with the shul, a Chanukas Habayis. Same thing with the child. The Chovos HaTalmidim says this beautiful word. He says, chinuch is really about extraction. It's about pulling out the uniqueness and specialty of a child and then cleverly showing him how to use his or her uniqueness to serve the Borei Olam and to be a fulfilled person. That's chinuch. That's seen. That's seen. We have to see them. And when they feel we see them, they can see themselves. Otherwise they can't. We're the mirror that reflects back to our children their uniqueness, their specialness. And so we can show them, they can see themselves through us. I believe it's the most important part. And the last one is soothed. Soothed does mean that when they get in trouble, they hurt themselves. We don't right away pull out like 3 musas for them and explain to them what they did wrong, and you brought this on yourself, and what is wrong with you. And I told you not to. Your kid, I remember, how many have had this experience? Your kid has a little bike with the training wheels, and they say, can you take them off now? I can ride. And he said, no, wait a little longer. Get better at it. No, I want to take them off. And then next thing you know, Friday you're on the way to the hospital because he took it off and he broke his finger. And all you're doing all the way is, I told you not to do it. See what happens? You break your finger when you take the wheels off. It doesn't matter with you. Listen to me. No, chas v'shalom. When a child hurts themselves, especially when they didn't take your advice in a Bracha and they hurt themselves, first you soothe them. You want to explain to them what they did wrong, wait 2 days. And then talk to them 2 days later. But right now, soothe your child. When they get hurt, they need us to tune in and soothe them because they're in pain. Even if you perceive they brought it on themselves, right now is not the time for Musa. Right now is not the time for education. Now's the time to soothe. And when you do safe, secure, seen, and soothe together, you attach your children to you. They feel connected to you. They feel cared for, loved by you. They feel safe with you, secure with you, seen by you, soothed by you. And that creates resilience. So that when they get hurt, when the midos of a corrosive happen in life that we have no control over, they turn to us because they feel safe with us. That's attachment. It's the greatest gift we could ever give our kids. It's the gift of healthy attachment. And it nurtures them through the rest of their lives. I can tell you my kids are married. The married ones, they come and they ask. They sit down with me to talk to me, and they come for guidance and advice because they feel safe. By the way, if you have married kids, a quick answer, I'll tell you what I do with my kids. They come for advice. And I always tell them, before I give you advice, just acknowledge that you know that I won't be offended if you don't listen to me. Just please acknowledge that. It's your life, not my life. It will not be a waste of my time to sit with you, process your life with you, because it's your life, not my life. You don't have to do it my way, do it your way. And I will not be offended. Tell me you know that. And make him say it to me. And it frees up. Everything about a healthy relationship gets freed up because there's no control. There's no insisting. Forget it, it's not my life, it's your life. I don't know all the circumstances. You came for some aids, I gave you some Bracha. It's your life, go work it out. The only problem, if you do this, they keep coming back. They drive you crazy for advice. Yeah, you better find time, because the kids are all over you if you do this. But that's the result of healthy attachment. They want to come to you. So when you do these models, unconditional love from the beginning, which creates neural pathways that sets them up for life. And then we work on the 4 S's, and if you didn't have them, work on them now. Look for opportunities to work through. Understand which one or more are missing, which ones need strengthening, which need more chizuk, and work on those. Develop them, because it's reparative. It's not just preventive, it's reparative too. And when we do all this together, we have a chance to go on this beautiful journey of life, despite the fact that the Eibishter is ultimately in charge, not us. And he does what he does. As the Pasuk says, Ki Seitze, Yipol Vayis Chodosh, Vosisa Make Al Gagecha. If you build a new house, then build a market, a fence on the roof. There shouldn't be blood on your hands if someone falls off the roof and dies. Preventive. It's preventive, right? Market is the ultimate prevention. And the Meforshim, the Medrash says it. Why does it say Pen Yipol HaNoifel Mimenu? It should say Pen Yipol Mimenu, unless you fall off the roof. Pen Yipol HaNoifel, unless the faller falls off the roof. Grammatically, you don't need it. Zog the Medrash, Zeh HaNoifel Roy Hoyo Lipo Misheshis Yemei Abrashis. Rabbi Bachai in the second Pshat Al Pi Midrash explains it. That the Eibishter is in charge. If someone's going off the roof, they're going off the roof. Because everything that happens to us, the Maisa in the course of life, is all destined. It's all from the Shemayim. And then he says, but let it not be your roof. You do prevention. Don't let it be your roof. That's the mitzvah of Makkah. It shouldn't be your roof. Make a prevention. Do what you can to stop him. Let him go off someone else's roof, not your roof. Oh, but the roof he's going off. Because the Eibishter is in charge, ultimately. So if we can be makabel that fully, so we don't get guilty and ashamed and blamed, we realize the Eibishter is ultimately always in charge. What happens is going to happen. That's part of a bigger picture that we don't begin to understand, because das is Alma de Shikra. This is the world of lies. Das is nicht Olam HaEmes. the world of truth. And we have to wait patiently, and let's have a long, long life. You don't have to go there and find out too early the pshat in all of it. But in that makom, we can find out the truth. I believe that's why we say in Nichem Avelim, HaMakom Yinachem Eschem. So Shabbat said, what's pshat makom? When Hashem Yinachem? Rabbi Shimon Yinachem? Rakim Yinachem? What's HaMakom? What's HaMakom? I think pshat is because Yen HaMakom is Olam Emes. And when we get there, else is pashut, else is explained. Oh, why the nifta went is all clear up there. The Yen HaMakom is the Nechama, because up there the nifta is happy. They know why they went there. Oh, but this world, under the shikha, we don't know. We do not know. We have to do prevention. And Yibla Noy for the men, this is prevention. I hope so the help from this was helpful to everybody, and I hope you have as much nachas and joy in this journey as I've had in mine. Thank you very much. Shkach.
I think that's good. Thank you. Trust me. No, you see from the check. Checking everything.
Were all your questions answered?
I think so. It's a question.
We have a chance for a few questions. Russell, just a few.
Right.
By the way, that story about Dr. Porges, the atheist, your question was so controversial, we emailed him beforehand to ask permission if you could even ask him that question. Yeah.
Really?
That's how fearful we were. Anyways, okay, so Rabbi Russell, we have a few questions.
Yeah,
so come on up, we do, just a handful. We'll just take 3 or 4.
You sure?
And then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sure?
By the way, anyone who wants to leave, leave. I will not be insulted. No, I totally mean it. Right. Okay, you have a question? Yes.
So I'm asking this hypothetically, but I imagine I'm not the only one with this question. So the biggest challenge, everything that you said was so helpful. How do you handle sibling rivalry and fighting with love? Because everything you talked about was so loving and so positive and
Absolutely.
so
What's the
wonderful.
problem? You stand between them.
But if you have children who are constantly fighting, how do you...
Absolutely. Same way a Rebbe does in the classroom. You repeat it in a loving way. I'm so sorry, Sheva, I can't let you do that. It's just not okay. Do you understand? We don't do liberal stuff. We do honest, straightforward truth. The only shinoi in this generation is we do it in a loving way. You stand between the kids. By the way, sibling rivalry is a gift from the Rabbi Shimon. Do everyone know that? That's not something unique to your home. All sibling rivalry, kids fight. You know why? It's a gift from the Baruch to teach midas to children in the safety of the home before they go out in the world. So siblings fight. The teva of sibling rivalry, which occurs in all homes, it's like universal, is to give the parents an opportunity to teach midas to their children. It's a gift. So we stand between them and we speak in a very, very loving way to them. I'm so sorry, Sheva, I cannot let you do that. That's hurtful to your brother or your sister. That's hurtful. I can't let you do that. I'm so sorry. And they say, yeah, but he did it first, and he did this, and he poked me in the eye, right? You say, well, he shouldn't have done that either. And if he did that, it's wrong too. You understand? The difference is we don't intimidate our kids into compliance. There's something, by the way, universal mistake that's made that I hope is disappearing. It's called creating a fantasy of compliance. It's where you intimidate your child into complying with your rules, as long as you're looking at them with an angry face and scaring the death out of them. And then when they go out of your eyesight, they do exactly what they want to do anyway, because you're not looking. What's the point? It's a fantasy of compliance. I prefer not to intimidate the kids and just tell them, Sheva, that's not okay. I know that's hard for you, but that's not okay. By the way, don't ever say, forgive me, I'm going to be polite. Try not to say, that's not acceptable in our house. Do you know how idiotic that is? What do you think they think about you afterwards? They have a little huddle afterwards and say, ha ha, we'll show them. I don't ever tell your kids you can't do this when you know you can't stop them. Why would you say you can't do it? You can't do that, not in our house. When you have zero control to stop them doing it. You just look like an idiot. What's the point? But the language is everything. You say to them, I really, really need you to try not to do that in our house. That's very hurtful. That hurts people. And we need to work on that. Because that's not okay. So don't go the next step, you can't do it. Don't ever tell your kids you can't do something that you have zero ability to control them not to do it. Because you just look like a fool. And it erodes their chashivas for you. Masha'enken, when you tell them that's really not okay to behave like that, you really need to work on that. So then you've opened it up and you don't look like a fool. And you give them space and room to grow up and develop. Okay, any other questions? No, we can go. Oh, okay, yes.
2 questions if I can.
Okay, we've got a special one tonight.
What if I'm not so calm and collected and I am angry when I'm trying to
Fresh start! Come to Fresh Start. We'll help you deal with that. I'll be honest, that's, by the way, first of all, I deeply respect your saying that. Because it's true. It's very often. Look, I'm not saying you have to go to Fresh Start. It's not a bad idea. No, what I mean is, where's the anger? You have to work out where the anger's coming from. We all do that. I did that. Most people did that. And we have to have a real soul searching. Because it interrupts, in this generation, it interrupts the work of healthy parenting. Because you don't want to intimidate your children into compliance, because it doesn't create attachment, and later on it will backfire. So whatever it takes, therapy, either yoga, breathing, sleep. Sleep's a good idea, by the way. If you sleep, I found out that people who sleep get less angry. It's really recommended. I tell all my clients, by the way, before we deal with your psychological problems, do you have 8 hours sleep a night? Do you eat well? Do you drink well? And do you exercise? If not, come back when you do those things, please. Because it's impossible and pointless to do therapy with someone who's exhausted, hungry, thirsty, and doesn't exercise. It doesn't work. So, for all of us, because I think we all feel the way you do, by the way, that we lose it. When you lose on your kid, it's not okay. We've got to work on that. We've got to find out what's that about and deal with it. And if it's really, really, really chronic, I have to tell you, we have had some heroes at Fresh Start who just realized I just can't do this. I've got to deal with this. I can't stop. And then magic happens when you find out where it's coming from. Frequently, it's coming from some fear, some past stuff, something's getting triggered. You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking into it. Could be just plain old bad meters like the rest of us. No, I'm serious. We've all got it. Like, none of us are perfect. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to tell you that everyone who gets angry is trauma. You know what I'm saying? It could be anything. I don't know. But whatever it is, deal with it. Deal with it. Work on it. For the sake of you. Is that part 1 and 2?
The second question is different. So with the kid who, you said, for someone who's 4 years old and they don't want to wear their tzitzis, it's fine. What if they're a teenager?
Even more so.
That's not...
the Potter, after Bar Mitzvah Potter. You got no chiyuv. You have no chiyuv to force them to wear tzitzis.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, great, isn't it? It's so free.
It felt like you were, sorry, but it felt like the stress was on when they're little.
No. That's when we make mistakes. No one in their right mind would fight with a 14-year-old to put on tzitzis. Right? You've got to be out of your
Obviously
mind.
not tzitzis, but say going to daven.
Yeah, whatever it is, you can
Whatever
talk
it
to them about it. You don't fight with them and force them, you let it go. Yeah, 100%. It's just we think we have, when they're younger, we think we have more shlita and power and all that, and that's where we mess up. We have to let it go and do it with love and kindness, and then talk to them about it later on. Like, it's always in the moment, let it go, but they've got to talk to them. Sit down with them, work it out. What's it about? There's something going on there. Don't ignore it. Chas v'shalom. I hope I was clear about that. I hope I was very clear. We go back and we talk to them. We don't use frustration or intimidation. Does that make sense?
So if they're 15 and they're home from yeshiva, and
now we're going to deal with
they
that.
don't want to go to minyan.
Let me tell you. You wait till they're 19 and come back from the Meir and they sleep till 2 o'clock. See how much hair you can pull out then. You know, people, I'm not kidding you, it's like, man, I'm not blaming the Meir. I mean, it's just a dogma. You know, many people, they come back, the kids, it's unbelievable. So they say, spend his money. We don't daven, it's optional. I asked the kids something, I had these kids show me, you ever heard of Sosman Krishma? They said, what's that? You gotta be kidding. It's like amazing. No, we don't fight them, but we always talk. I don't care. A kid doesn't know or keep mitzvahs, whatever, struggling with something, we talk to them. Don't get angry. No one was ever angered into agreement. Right? No such thing. So in this day and age, all the anger stuff out. That's why I say it comes from a loving place. Because when you do it from a loving place, you actually get entitled to talk about everything. You discuss everything with your kids. Everything about their behavior and hanaga, because you're not threatening them. That's the beauty of attachment. It frees us to get very deeply connected to our kids, because we don't do the long face and the upset face. And all I always say that men, we always have that tefillin, that mirror in the tefillin zekel. Keep one in your pocket. When you come home, take a look. If you're smiling, walk in the house. If not, go for a walk. No, don't come back yet. The ladies have a compact, with the thing. Just check and see. Kids we need to smile constantly around them. By the way, the kids interpret a tired face as an upset face. It's crazy, the sensitivity of the children in this. Ramatio had long arichas. He talked about the nature of kids in this generation. Can I just say one quick thought? Got time? Do you want to hear unbelievable Ramatio thought? It says in Eicha, in the 4th paragraph. It says Tishtapechna avnei kodesh b'rosh kol chutzos. The holy stones of the Beis HaMikdash will be strewn out on the street corners. And Rashi says that these are our children. Tishtapechna avnei kodesh. Zog the Mashka, I heard it from him directly. The holy stones of the Beis HaMikdash will be strewn out on the street corners. Rashi to say is Elu Habonim, these are our children. Zog the Mashkiach, amazing. He said, every catastrophe, Peronia and Klal Yisrael, was for one purpose, to bring us back to Borei Olam. We should do tshuva, come back to Hashem. That's why Hashem brings Peronias. That's why he brought the Chol Beis HaMikdash, to wake us up, to do tshuva. And the same thing he said with the Spanish Inquisition, with Tachtatat, the Holocaust in our times, what's going on there in society, would have said it. Major catastrophes are there for Klal Yisrael to wake us up and bring us close. Zog the Mashkiach. La'achris hayomim. He had riots for this, by the way. La'achris hayomim. If it all doesn't work, and he can't wake us up, he'll bring the Peronias in the most sensitive place to us in Klal Yisrael, Elu Habonim, through our children. Amazing. That's what Rashi is alluding to. And it's mamish what we see in the generation we're living in. And the way to deal with it is not to become permissive and weak and abandon them, is to be straight and honest and truthful, which they need us so desperately. And we switch to do it in a loving way.
One more question.
One more question. Would you like to, which one, Joachim?
Back there, yeah, just like, yeah. No. The Rebbe, yeah.
Is there any approach or way to undo resentment if you talk to messed up along the way and then you figure it out at some point, but at that point, and I'm talking about 5 to bar mitzvah, not a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely. You do these systems I'm talking about. You switch yourself to a warm, smiling, loving face. If necessary, if you've done, I'm sorry. Who's resenting who?
The child is resenting benching.
Resenting benching.
Yeah.
So you stop nudging them, the kishkas out. By the way, benching, as I hear from people, is a classic example of spiritual and religious abuse. You know that? That when kids grow up, what we're meant to do is bench beautifully. Not meant to, the benching should not look like this. Okay, ready? Let's bench. That is not benching. That's a joke. It is much better to just bench. And afterwards, sit down with your kid and bench with your kid. Or sing benching. Sing it, just like the kids do in school. Sing the benching. There's nothing wrong with singing and benching. I don't know why. It's like you're sheepish to sing. It's like weird. It's like crazy. No, I'm serious. It's nuts. Sing the benching with your kids and they'll all sing. You can repair it by not nudging the kishkas out of them. And make it, you should sing. You got a nice voice? Sing. Sing with the kids. Or don't push them. I'm telling you, kids, if we make a loving home where they feel safe and happy, ultimately when they grow through all this stuff, they come back to model on us. So it's not too late, just start now. Don't nudge them anymore, just bench beautifully, and I would strongly recommend sing it. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know what happened to us. The old days everyone sang benching. I know. The kids learned benching by singing it. We should do it at home. It's not yeshivish to sing benching. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. It was a wonderful evening. Shkoyach, thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Ross.
My pleasure.